And joining us now to discuss Israel agreeing to a six-day Gaza ceasefire, according to Trump, is retired Captain Douglas Ernest, U.S. veteran, U.S. Army veteran. Good afternoon, Captain Ernest. So given that previous ceasefires have sort of not worked out that well, what makes this one more likely to hold, in your opinion?
What's more likely to hold for is that the Trump administration has used a pragmatic approach in Iran to bring an end to that conflict. And now that we've been unbridled and we've had a magnanimous framework that actually worked, we gave empathy to the enemy in that part of the globe. We can now use that momentum and these inertial forces of warfare to bring it to an end. We can use a way to dance. And I talk about dancing because that's what the Trump administration is doing. They're doing an outstanding job. They're making a transformative impact on the Middle East. And with this momentum that they've got from their win in Iran, we actually got a good chance of bringing this conflict to an end and avoid any further loss of life.
Right. I mean, it takes two to dance, right? But so far, Hamas has not come out with anything yet. And we know Iran provides funding, weapons as well, and training to Hamas. And the recent joint Israeli-U.S. bombing campaign perhaps also maybe disrupted morale for Hamas. So my question is, do you think Hamas is coming to this, entering these negotiations from a position of relative weakness?
Oh, absolutely. They've been pummeled. The Palestinians have also been pummeled as a people. We're looking at 200,000 deaths by the Palestinians, 200,000 injured and dead. We got about 58,000 Palestinians that passed. We also have about 140,000 Palestinians been injured. And this is with some very bad reporting in that part of the area because they don't have technology. Internet goes in and out. Jewish state is only about 10,000 injured and dead. And I say only, it's still 1/20th of the casualties that the Palestinians have evolved. The Hamas has been estimated from strategy perspective, military analysts to have about 80-90% of their infrastructure taken out. So absolutely, they've been decapitated. It's a concrete indicator that they need to put a detail together when they come to these tables. But this is true Hamas rhetoric, how they always go back and forth, back and forth. But right now, the number one goal by the Trump administration is to release those 50 remaining hostages, get this 60-day window to come into effect. We can then use these symbolic effects of what happened in Iran and get momentum in this part of the Middle East to have a transformative impact in the Middle East and finally bring peace to this part of the world that everybody around the globe is asking for.
Okay, speaking of peace, by your estimates or your best guess, what are the prospects of this potential 60-day ceasefire evolving into a permanent peace agreement?
I think the prospects are extremely high. The Trump administration has been working on this deal for about 6 months, and we've had this back and forth. We take 2 steps forward and get pushed back 1 step. The Trump administration, again, is coming off one of the biggest military feats in history. When we study strategy in the military, there is no 12-day wins where you take out the enemy's arsenal. We had a tremendous win in the Middle East recently, and we did it amicably. We provided a magnanimous framework. And by magnanimous, I mean we have empathy with the enemy. We ended that era of nuclear weaponry in that part of the world, but we also allowed the Iranians to save face. This gives Hamas a chance to also save face. It gives them a chance to get to the table and look like they came through with the power of strength and were able to leave amicably and put a deal together instead of being pummeled to their death and having no leadership whatsoever in Gaza. Moving forward, I think you're going to see a deal put together. I think you're going to see pressure from President Trump himself, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, and you're going to see a deal come together that is going to be great for the American people. Finally, to understand this wholly, you have to understand they're doing a triangulated approach to get this deal done. They're communicating what they want to get done. They're warning if they don't do a deal that they're going to be destroyed. And finally, they have given Israel hands-off approach where they can have a dominant engagement in that area. So Hamas most likely is going to put a deal together.
Okay, you're talking about deals, and I would like you to just elaborate. And let me just add to the fact that Trump says he hopes Hamas takes this deal because he says it's not going to get better, it's only going to get worse. So can you elaborate this for us?
Yeah, absolutely. As I just mentioned, the triangulated approach to warfare. And I just mentioned that's something that you study about in strategy and about military planning and try to end a war to at least decapitate your enemy to make sure that they can't fight back. When you have dominating engagement over your enemy, it means you control the airspace, you control the weaponry in and out, you control the routes in and out. We control Israel has control of the humanitarian aid. We have dominating engagement control of that part of the world. They really don't have any choice but to make a deal, or they're going to be leveled and it will be completely brought out of power. We don't want that. We want to find a way to end this amicably. We want to find a way to finally achieve efficacy. And what I mean by achieving efficacy, it's one of those things that you read about in strategy books, and that is getting your desired end state, which number one is to end human suffering and bring this conflict to an end. So finally, we believe as strategists in our field that this is going to finally come to an end. We're about 90% there, and we're about to wait the next few days and see if Donald Trump and his administration can finally put this together.
What is your analysis on the hostage situation, the hostage issue? Is it central to this ceasefire push? Do you think Hamas will settle for a partial release without a full Israeli withdrawal? Where do you things stand in your opinion?
Hamas does not play by the magnanimous framework that I just mentioned. Israel and the U.S. and most democracy societies' end state is to sustain human life and not allow hostages to be injured. I don't think a lot of those hostages are going to be free. They're not. Some of them are going to be found to be dead. Some are going to be hurt in the aftermath of the wars that's been going in this area. There's not accurate reporting that's come out, but the estimates is that there's 50 still alive. I believe that in order to put this deal together, they're going to have to release these hostages. And I think you're going to see more of that come out this week. We usually have a trickling effect by Hamas. They usually don't release them all at one time. They usually have stages, phase 1, 2, 3, 4, where they release 6 at a time, 8 at a time, starting with the most weekend first. So we're going to see some hostages come out in the next week. And again, building on the administration's current wins of that part of the world and the transformative impact that we've seen from these deals being made with Iran and bringing a ceasefire, I think we're going to see the inertial forces of this momentum continue, and we're going to see some wins for the Trump administration as part of the world. That's not only good for America to save resources and save human life, but it's good for the globe to bring this conflict to an end.
Okay, Captain Ernest, I'll just ask you one more thing, and if I may, I would like to speculate a little bit. We saw the 60-day deal that President Trump offered Iran, and then it didn't take it, and we saw what happened, right? The most devastating bombing of those facilities. What happens if this deal fails? What's next?
You know, as we mentioned the triangulated approach, it's a dominant engagement. We have complete domination in that region. And I don't mean the U.S., I mean Israel, our strategic alliance partner. If a deal isn't done, we're going to see continued fighting. We're going to see urban warfare. We're going to see more in and out. We're going to see more casualties on both sides. And worse, what would happen is the Palestinian people are going to suffer. We've seen the Gaza humanitarian aid and how we see a lot of these people, these poor souls that are just trying to get food, and they're being killed. They're being killed by their own people. They're being killed by indiscriminate warfare and munitions that are being set off. So we're going to see a lot more suffering by the Palestinian people if they cannot put this deal together. And if you just look at some of the news feeds that come out and some of the perspectives of Palestinian people, they've had it. Their country has been 90 to 95% decimated. It's going to take decades to put it back together. The people of this country are suffering. The elderly are dying. Those that are sick are not getting help. So Hamas is on its last leg, if not their final foot. It's over for Hamas. They must put a deal together. If they don't, they're going to be dominated and they're going to be completely destroyed.
Okay, Captain Ernest, it's always great to talk to you.
The pleasure is mine. Everybody have a great day out there.